Hello, good evening, welcome. This is Hot Edition. We're live on news up here at Desawe Kanda, also live on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond. We're live on W93.5 in Y and beyond. Coming up this evening, Imani Africa and security analyst Professor Kwesianin urges the Supreme Court to declare that the president lacks the power to terminate the appointment of key security chiefs, including the Inspector General of Police. We have details for you. Plus, doctors at the Konfanochi Teaching Hospital declare strike over eviction from their official residence. We have the reactions and also what the Minister of Health, in fact, the Ashanti Regional Minister, has been giving to them in terms of assurances of what's going to be done next to avert the strike action. Also in this package, the National Labour Commission files a court case against the Ghana Education Service and Ministry of Education over unpaid online allowances for some members of the University Teachers Association of Ghana, UTAG.
Make any difference. So whether you are government, whether you are private, if we give a directive and it's against you and you don't comply, the law provides that you go to court to seek enforcement, and that is exactly what the commission is seeking to do.
Tonight, we'll tell you more about the possible implications and fears of a likely industrial action should payment to the University Teachers Association of Ghana delay. Details plus the latest in business, sports and entertainment coming up over the next 60 minutes here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Also, the Electoral Commission has been reacting to the National Democratic Congress's decision. In fact, their objective of having to use drones to police the elections on December 7. The Electoral Commission says that decision may amount to the invasion of voters' privacy. We have details of that plus the latest coming through here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. I am Alfred Ocansey, and as always, you are part of the program this evening. Let's hear from you. The hashtag that we're using is Hot Edition on Facebook and X. We're live now, streaming right now on Facebook and X. Let's get talking. Let's get into the details now. And the think tank Imani Africa is urging the Supreme Court to declare that the president lacks the power to terminate the appointment of key security chiefs, including the Inspector General of Police. They are joined by security analyst Professor Kwesianin through their lawyers. File a 114-page writ at the Supreme Court with the hope of stopping what they say is a disturbing trend of such key officials being removed from office despite no evidence that they have misconducted themselves. My colleague Dennis Poberi-Adam joins me for a quick run through of this writ. Dennis, we're talking about what, 114 pages of this writ that Imani with Professor Kwesianin now filed at the Supreme Court. Obviously, we can't run through all the 114, but what are some of the major highlights that you have seen in there?
Yes, quite an exhaustive writ of summons accompanied a statement of claim, indicating quite a few things. But they are seeking to, like you rightly put out, get a finality to what they say it's an observation which is quite uncomfortable, that when there's a change of government, certain heads of some institutions that they mention, and they are talking about the Ghana Police Service, they are talking about that is the Inspector General of Police in respect of the Ghana Police Service, the Chief Fire Officer in respect of the Fire Service, the Director General in respect of the Prison Service, and then the Comptroller General of the Immigration Service. They say that in the past, they've observed that anytime there's a change in government, there's usually some removal of these heads, which in their view is not spelled out in law. So even though there's an establishment in the constitution of these institutions and how their heads should be appointed, they are unable to see exactly how these heads should be removed. So anytime some of these people are removed, they are just removed like that without any reason, and they think that that practice has to be stopped, considering that some of them are sometimes removed even before their retirement age. And to think that they also belong to the public service, one would have thought that their retirement ages, at least with the barest minimum, would have been 60 years. But there are instances where some of them have removed at age 52, at age 56, 58, thereabout, without any reason.
But it's become a convention, is it not?
Yes, and that's why they want
unwritten rule that any government that comes in, they bring their own IGP, or they appoint their own IGP, or their own chief fire officer.
And it's exactly that convention that the plaintiffs in this matter seek to stop. That no, it shouldn't continue that way, because for people who have established themselves in these services, they've acquired some knowledge and skills that are still relevant to their various institutions. They think that these people must be protected at all costs, and that their tenure of office must not be conterminous with that of the sitting government. So that is the basis for this whole suit, and they are seeking an interpretation on quite a number of things in the Constitution.
Right, and so let's get into it now. Talk about how they believe such officers should be removed. Is that captured in there?
Yes, so their view is that if such officers must be removed, they must be removed on just cause. And their definition of what just cause is that there has to be stated misconduct, just like other offices where there's a procedure for their removal. The other one could also be if they reach their retirement age. But mind you, I've already indicated that they've given instances where people have been removed even without attaining the retirement age of 60.
That's right.
So they think that, the retirement age of 60 years could be a just cause for one to be removed. There could also be the issue of stated misconduct. There could also be the issue if the person dies, or if the person becomes incapacitated and is unable to perform his functions in the office or her functions in the office. Those, for them, would be good grounds for the persons to be removed. But situations whereby you are asked to proceed on leave without any reason, for them, it shouldn't be the case, because when they look into the law, they do not think that the president has the power to do that. Even though the president has the power to, in consultation with the Council of State, appoint them when it comes to, for the lack of better word, disappoint them. It should be done with just cause, not the way we have seen things happen in the past.
I see. Interesting. So we're talking about what? Instances where the person dies or retires.
Yes.
That's 60. Or some of the officials incapable of performing their functions. Okay. But they also detail some of the past officers which you have just run through quite copiously. But what reliefs are they seeking? Maybe let's run up on that. What exactly are they asking the court to do?
So by way of reliefs, what they are simply saying is that because of the nature of the writ, they are asking for certain declarations to be made. So, for instance, they are asking that a declaration be made that when you look at the true and proper interpretation of the letter and spirit of Articles 200, 202.1, 202.2, 202.3, 202.5, 207.1, it's quite a long list of articles, but those articles point directly to the institutions we are talking about: the Ghana Police Service, the Prison Service, the Immigration Service. Yes, those ones that I mentioned. Right. That when you look at the articles that establish them, together with Article 296, which of course talks about discretionary power and how it should be used, that the President of the Republic of Ghana has no authority to terminate the appointment or remove from office a person occupying the office of the Chief Fire Officer of the Fire Service, Inspector General of Police, Director General of the Prison Service, and the Comptroller General of the Immigration Service, unless only upon stated misconduct or misbehavior established against these office holders, or incapacity to perform their functions of the office by reason of infirmity of mind or body and death, or retirement, or upon the resignation by the office holder. So those are the things that I was trying to explain under the just cause. Right. If they resign, if by reason of infirmity of mind or body they are unable to perform their functions, if they reach their retirement age themselves, or if it is established against them some misconduct or stated misbehavior, then those could be good grounds for their removal. Except this, the president should not be allowed to exercise any power by way of removing them. They also want a further declaration that upon the true and proper interpretation of the letter and spirit of the articles that I've mentioned, those that relate to the services that I mentioned, that the President of the Republic of Ghana, upon assumption of office, does not have the power to make a fresh appointment to the office of the Chief Fire Officer of the Fire Service, Inspector General of Police, Director General of the Prison Service, and Comptroller General of Immigration Service, unless the immediate holder of the office is deceased, retired, or incapable of performing functions of the office by reason of infirmity of the body or mind, or resignation, or dismissed upon stated misconduct. Or that's just to say that when you come into office as a new president, let the other person who is already there progress, like move out on the just cause threshold they're talking about.
These areas of...
Yes, either the person retires or the person resigns, all that, before you make a new appointment. So in essence, presidents should be stopped from making new appointments while their heads of this institution is still in office.
It's interesting. You see, this matter has both legal, political legs,
Precisely.
as well, and then security as well. And so, Dennis, hold on a bit for me, because they have provided some names in this statement of claim to just back the relief they are seeking from the Supreme Court. But Martin Bebo is a private legal practitioner, one of the foremost human rights lawyers we have in this country. He's joining us on the telephone for a quick conversation on this. Martin Bebo, it's good to have you. Good evening. Thank you very much for joining us here on Hot Edition.
Yeah, good evening, Mr. Ocansey. Yeah, great.
Now, you see that this for the lack of better expression, misbehavior that Imani and Professor Kwesieni are trying to cure through this Supreme Court action transcends the regimes we've had in this country, because this lawsuit captures instances involving even. Unfortunately, we lost Johnny. We lost lawyer Martin Pebo there. We'll try to raise him back on the telephone and get a bit more into this. But Dennis, if you see this, it goes way back into Johnny Jacob Kufuor's regime.
Yes.
Some decisions that were taken, persons who were asked to proceed on leave.
And that Tamils, John Mahama, it's quite a mix of regimes. So, for instance,
let's run through the names.
They make reference to 2017 when the then Director General of the Ghana Prison Service, Mr. Emmanuel Yao Ajato, was asked to proceed on leave at the age of 54, and that's subsequently a new appointment was made. Clearly, when you look at that, it is their contention that this person was not at the retirement age of 60 yet, as required under public service. They do not think that the person was removed under just cause, so they thought it is problematic. Such things should not be allowed to happen. Similarly, Madam Elizabeth Ejay, then Comptroller General of the Immigration Service, was in 2011 removed from office by then late President, His Excellency John Evans Atamils at the time, when she was not also of retirement age. They go on to make reference to 21st of January 2021, where Mr. Peter Namfuri, the then Inspector General of Police, was removed from office, and by extension a new
IGP.
In fact, he was removed as the IGP and from the Ghana Police Service, and that was done by His Excellency John Ejekum Kufuor. They also make reference to a case in 2009 when the then Inspector General of Police, Mr. Patrick Kwating Achampong, was also removed as Inspector General of Police, and by extension, the Ghana Police Service, by a freshly elected President John Evans Atamils. That's when he had just assumed office as President of Ghana. There's also the case of Mr. Patrick Achampong. Yes, that his removal was done when he was 58 years, 2 years shy of the requirement for public officers to retire. They also make reference to an incident involving President John Dramani Mahama in 2013, February to be specific, when then he instructed then Inspector General of Police, Mr. Paul Tewia Kwe, to proceed on leave. Subsequently, Mr. Alassa Mohammed was appointed to act as Inspector General of Police at the time, when Mr. Paul Tewia was not due for retirement.
Interesting.
The list goes on and on.
In fact, it's a long one, to say the least. Martin Bebo is back on the telephone. I was just running through the list as provided by Imani and Professor Kwesieni, to the effect that this decision or this convention that has been sustained by governments gone by and present of removing the IGPs and appointing their preferred IGPs or heads of security institutions in this country. We've seen it over the period. Even to talk about the Controller and Accountant General and the Controller General of the Ghana Immigration Service, we've seen it all through from the John Jacob Kufuor regime to this point. Now, is this case a straightforward one, especially taking into consideration what the Constitution says, or there are certain nuances that may impede the process of this case as it plays out in the Supreme Court?
Okay, so Mr. Ocansey, at least judging by my previous submissions and all that on air, I wish it would just be straightforward, because we all want better governance. We want the IGP, the Chief Fire Officer, etc., to be independent of the executive, though they are part of the executive. But we want them to be independent of the presidency, actually, because hopefully that would make for better governance, right? But in practice, it's, once it's a court case, it's not easy to say it's open and shut, especially because when you read the Constitutional Review Commission report, they dealt with this matter. Now, before we go to what the Constitutional Review Commission said, when the hierarchy of the police at the time appeared before the commission, they didn't do theirs public, but we have information on that. The police hierarchy told the commission that they wish to be independent. They don't want the president to continue to appoint the IGP, right? Yes, they made that clear because, it makes the IGP very docile because his fortunes are tied to the person who appoints him, and even because he can easily be removed by the person who appointed him, he always has to pander to the wishes of that person. You remember Kwarteng? Kwarteng was one of the main reasons we all supported the removal of Kwarteng, Patrick Echampong Kwarteng, because in the run-up to the 2008 election, for example, he said only people who were scared of losing the elections would behave as the NDC had done. The NDC did something, and then Patrick Kwarteng made that statement. So it was very clear to all of us, at least political watchers, that Kwarteng had to go. As soon as if NDC won the election, Kwarteng had to go because that statement was very unbecoming of a professional, right? And other examples. So the thing is that
so sorry about this. We'll raise Martin Bebo back on the telephone. Really unfortunate. We'll get Martin Bebo, private legal practitioner, is one of the foremost human rights lawyers we have in this country, to conclude on that point that he was making. Because you see, Dennis, and lawyer Martin Bebo makes a critical point about the circumstances under which such decisions are taken. Okay, the justification has always been the context and the reasons that lead to some of these persons being ousted from office even before their retirement age. So the specific case of Patrick Kwarteng Echampong, certain comments that were made prior to the 2008 elections was the justification for the decision that was taken by the NDC when they assumed power in 2009. But as to whether that would stand the test in the face of the law, it's another matter altogether. Yes, Martin Bebo, you're on a point. Forgive me.
So my point is that, so you find that there's the instances where sometimes the IGPs themselves have not commended themselves to continue in office when there's a change in there's a change in the government, all right, or parties that control the government, right? Yeah, so the Kwarteng example is one. But that apart, you would then see that in the Constitutional Review Commission report, they said they are not in favor of the president not appointing the IGP because, among others, Ghana is still, our democracy is still developing. We've not yet embraced democracy fully. I'm paraphrasing. It's a country, I'm not around, and I don't have a soft copy of the Review Commission report here.
True.
But at least having used it in the past, what I remember is that they say they are not in favor because of the security implications. So putting it bluntly, what they mean is that because we've not yet fully embraced democracy, if the IGP is very independent and is not subject to the control of the president, it's easier for such an IG to be involved in a coup d'etat, putting it bluntly. So they say for security reasons, the president should have control. But the Constitutional Review Commission report, that was they finished in 2011, right? And then we had elections 2012. So maybe what we should be looking at is that to what extent have we embraced democracy beyond what the level was at the time the Review Commission was doing its work. If you ask me, there are still fears that we haven't fully embraced democracy. You remember in 2022, there were rumors, some of them published, that the military could undertake a coup d'etat. So if you read, you'll find that in 2022 alone, on 2 occasions, President Kufuor had to beg the military to stay in the barracks when you Google it, last Saturday I was reading up, you'll find it. You'll find 2 stories in 2022 alone. There's one in October, and before the October one, there was an earlier one where Akufo-Addo had to plead with the military that they should stay off, they shouldn't do any coup d'etat. And then the October one, even Mahama had to also join in to beg the military that they should stay away, though times were hard, but it's better for us to stay on with our democracy than for the military to take over. So the point I'm making is that you will find that the concerns raised by the Constitutional Review Commission, and you know also even later on 2023, you still find issues of coup d'etat. All of this, if you Google, you'll find. In 2023, Akufo-Addo had to comment about that. And also 2023, remember, in 4 countries, not just 2023, but as of now, 4 other of our neighbors, Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, and Guinea, in this West Africa sub-region, they have, military leaders, right? So we've been discussing these coup d'etat up and down, right? So the point is that it would appear that the concerns the Constitutional Review Commission had are still live. Yes, it means it doesn't appear we've totally embraced democracy. And it's for good reasons, because these politicians are stealing. You see naked stealing. So sometimes, and you remember Kandapa in November 2023, openly said that a lot of CSOs and intellectuals were advocating for coup d'etat. Why is it happening? It's because we're seeing that people are stealing nakedly and we are not able to do much. So you see that it leads to despondency. And that's what Socrates said, that in a democracy, when the leaders keep stealing, one day the people will rise and all those things. So it's not a straight matter of just what is in the book, but there's a practical issue of the security implications.
And the security implications in that bit, but maybe quickly before I let you go, lawyer, the context in which such decisions are taken is also as important as the decision itself. So you talk about, in the case of the then IGP Patrick Kwati Champong, the statements he made that gave him out clearly as to exactly what his motive was. Now, will that stand the test of the law? So, for instance, because of this statement he made, a decision is taken to remove him even when he hasn't reached the retirement age. As this matter is now being tested in the court of law, will the decision suffice that, you know what, you made this statement that compromised your professionalism? So, on the basis of that, you were removed even before your retirement age.
Oh, yes. There's no 2 ways about that. As for Kwati's statement, it was too clear. And you know, when it comes to, though the police, you will not say it's strictly, armed forces. Okay, we say police service. We no longer we moved from police force to police service long ago in the 70s, right, when we passed the Police Service Act. But in practice, it's still seen largely as a force. And so, like the way the president is commander-in-chief of the army, even though he's not commander-in-chief of the police, but the police have a lot of weapons, etc. So where the chief of police isn't showing enough loyalty, hey, quickly, you remove the person. Let's give an example. You remember when Obama was in office, one of the revered, was it 4-star or 5-star general in the U.S., he was in Iraq. Is it Patriot? Let me not commit to a name. But the Army General came and openly disagreed with Obama. I mean, Americans loved him. He was doing a great job in Iraq, and then he went to CENTCOM. I mean, the military, the U.S., they are organized apart from Iraq. In Europe, they have another different command. Oh, very well decorated. But because he came out and disagreed with Obama, he had to go. It was such a painful thing. Very well decorated, excellent, but just for publicly disagreeing with Obama, he had to go. I'm sure we could give examples and examples. So as soon as you find a service commander coming out against the commander-in-chief, please, it's more than sufficient. So I'm saying that though the police service is not strictly military, by analogy, it's the same thing because the police are wielding a lot of weapons. They have lots of weapons. So when the head of a unit that has weapons is saying things against the president, Charlie, you don't take any chances. Yeah.
Prof, Lawyer Matibebo, appreciate your time on this one, and thank you so much. And this is just the beginning of a journey at the Supreme Court, so we'll see how things play out. Thank you so much for your thoughts.
You're welcome.
Martin Pebo is private legal practitioner, it's a human rights lawyer as well, joining us on this matter. But Dennis, as we conclude, already some other police couples have been weighing in on the matter, even before Imani and Prof. Sarkozyan's decision to go to court.
Yes. So this is not actually the first time this issue of independence or the need for the police service to be independent has come up. This is specifically to the police service. So recall that somewhere in 2018, ACP Agbozo, that name, Benjamin Agbozo, that name it rings a bell, right? Mm-hmm. Yes, he had cause to say that the Ghana Police Service actually needs to be independent. Now, his argument was very simple, that when you look at the provisions in the Constitution, even though it says that the Inspector General of the Police shall be the head of the police service, but shall be subject to the provisions of the article and to the control and direction of the Police Council. Now he asks, who is the Police Council? He goes on to say that it is headed by the Vice President, who is also a party member and a member of the government. In his view, the composition of the Police Council does not allow the police to be as independent as it should be. So even as of 2018, he was advocating that an amendment be made to the Constitution just so to make the police service independent. He said it at an event that was organized by IDEC. And guess what? One of the persons in this suit was also at that event. Kwesi Enim was at that event. He also made submissions and told the police in their own face that some of the things that we see in the police service, they are not doing them in the interest of the police. That instead of them to seek reforms of the Ghana Police Service so that they can be independent enough, they rather are busying themselves in promotions and demotions and meddling in politics. So clearly you can understand where you won't be surprised seeing that he has joined forces with Imani, who is a legal person in this matter, to file a suit at the Supreme Court, just so clarity is brought to bear on how some of these heads should be removed moving forward. They think that it's not just right that we remove the heads of these institutions at the whims and caprices of whoever assumes the realms of office. Okay.
Thank you very much, Dennis, for this. And Dr. Adam Bona is a security analyst, also been listening to you quite closely. Dr. Bona, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining us here on Hot Edition. We just got off the phone with lawyer Martin Pebo, who makes the point that even though in the face of the law, taking this decision of having people go out of office before their retirement age, the context and the circumstances leading to such decisions might suffice in the court of law. So in the case of, for instance, the former IGP, Patrick Kwatiye Champong, who made certain open comments about prior to the 2008 elections against the NDC, eventually when they won power, there was good enough reason for them to get him out of office. But from the security perspective, this convention that has been established of changing security heads every time there's a change of government, what threat does it pose?
Well, it poses, good afternoon. I mean, you mentioned the former IGP Patrick Kwatiye. You see, IGP Patrick Kwatiye, probably if he had known that the incumbent government would have lost that election, probably would not have made those comments. But we also do know that whether the incumbent government lost the elections, whether he made those comments or not, since 1992, we are at a convention where a new party coming in changes an IGP, changes all the heads of security, immigration, fire, prisons, everybody will go away, everybody will go. But, the Constitution does not back that particular thing. If you ask me from the legal point of view, if you open Chapter 14 of the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana, 1992 Constitution, it talks about Article 90, specifically talks about the public service. And these institutions that today are part of this, have been cited in this suit, that we've seen. Congratulations to Imani and then my colleague, Professor Enim, for going to court, because we haven't tested our laws that much. The provision is there. These institutions are part of the public service. You can come from, Article 90, Clause 1, talks about A it talks about the civil service, and it comes all the way down to, the others. So for instance, the immigration, fire service, and the rest, who have also been captured, including audit service, internal service, and all these institutions have been captured. Then when you come to Article 191 plus A and B. Article 191, I'm talking about the Constitution. It talks about, and if you would indulge me, I will read. It says, a member of the public service shall not be A, victimized, discriminated against for having discharged his duties faithfully in accordance with this Constitution. Or B, that is the Article 191B. It says, or be dismissed or removed from office or reduced in rank or otherwise punished without just cause. Okay, without just cause. And so, over the years, even though I will not want to go to the substance of, the
case, yes.
The writ. Over the years, one leader is coming, and his first target is to remove all these heads, whether it's stated grounds. We all know that you cannot just come today because you appointed the Chief Justice and remove the Chief Justice. You can't just come today and say because you appointed, somebody appointed the EC chair, I remove the EC chair. There has to be stated grounds. The judicial service. If you talk about what do you call that, what's the name? The Supreme Court justices, the High Court justices, appeals, you can't just remove them without a just cause. But when it comes to this institution, despite the constitutional provision, I heard your colleague talk about the Police Service Act. The Police Service Act is under the Constitution of Ghana. And so that portion of the Police Service Act could be rendered, useless if the Supreme Court justices who are going to be empaneled to go into this matter begins to realize that because an act of parliament does not override the Constitution, because the Police Service Act is an act of parliament in the hierarchy of laws. And so mine is that we have to understand the fact that from the constitutional point of view, let's allow the laws of this country to work. Let's allow the laws of this country to work. Secondly, in terms of security, Alfred, you and I know that anytime there is change of government, crime levels surge. And you and I have been doing this over the years. You are a senior journalist. We've been doing this over the years. 2017, 2018, under Asante Apiapi, that was when we had some of the brutal crimes in Ghana. Royal Motors, the Lebanese who was killed in Tema. Right. Several people died. Daylight robberies was every hour. Eventually, Apiapi left and Opombuenu came. Then we had, it got out of hand. Apiapi, what did he say? I said Apiapi, Opombuenu. He said that it is only in heaven crimes don't happen. True. Eventually, he was removed. My point is that. And you see, we haven't tested the laws. It's very important. And so you have officers who are supposed to be working, believing that I can undermine my boss. I can undermine everybody. I can be political. That is the only way. You heard the leaked case where a certain senior officer said that it is only when the party you support comes to power that you get promoted. So mine is that, should we allow that to fester where we are going? No. So for me, we haven't tested our laws well. Right. Instead of police officers and prison officers and immigration officers, fire service officers working, they are running around lobbying to be made heads of this institution or be promoted. And you see them swearing to be or getting political party cards. And that has not helped us as a country. So, Alfred, mine is that in terms of security, go back and check the criminal statistics of this country. It will tell you that because they know when the leader comes, he will change whoever is there at will, because the point is that the Supreme Court or the court of this country has not made any declaration. So when the declaration is made, depending on how they go, we will all know. I wouldn't want to go into the merits of it. But let's wait. But I have only quoted provisions in the Constitution to you. I mean, you are well educated. Your listeners are, well discerning. I've quoted Article 190, and then I've quoted Article 191 plus A and B. Go and read them jointly. Then you would understand the fact that maybe there is something that we are missing here until we get to a certain level where, a declaration is made. Then we all know as to how the verdict will be. I don't know. I'm only reading the Constitution because those who have exclusive and original jurisdiction when it comes to interpretation of the Constitution is the Supreme Court. Nobody else can do it.
Indeed.
So, and one thing I've said in my conversation is that until Honorable Anani took Shraj to court, when Shraj actually found him guilty for a certain, something he had done, he decided to say no, what they did was wrong. Shraj could not have found him guilty because there was no complainant. The Supreme Court upheld it and said, yeah, he's right. So that decision by Shraj was put away. Today, Shraj cannot, Alfred, if somebody goes to Shraj to report to the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice that Alfred, excuse me to say, is corrupt, Shraj would not just get up and say they are investigating you. That person would have to be an official complainant, according to that ruling by the courts when Anani went to court against Shraj. And so mine is that until such a time that we start from Article 1 to the last article in the Constitution and test it throughout, there are still gaps. To ask me. Anybody who understands a bit of the law will tell you that there are so many gaps. Until Martin Pebu you spoke to went to courts, the Martin Pebu 1 and Martin Pebu 2. Anybody who knows this thing will tell you that until then, the police would get you this evening. This is Friday. They would arrest you on Friday and say they found some we on you. And we know that by some act of parliament or by some whatever, when they find some narcotics on you, whether you are guilty, there is a pronouncement of guilty on you or not, the police would keep you unabated. They will just keep you there until the day probably the court makes a ruling.
Indeed.
When he went to courts, the courts decided to rule and say that that is a violation of the fundamental, the rights of these people you hold, because you don't know whether they are going to be pronounced guilty or not. So why do you then begin to punish them? So leave that aspect of not granting bail to the courts. So mine is that let's emphasize on this and say it is important we test this case. And congratulations to Professor Enin and Imani. There is, that they went to court to test the laws. That way, whether today with the internal security agencies are going to be the one manning our elections, I am happy because they will go to the polls with us, believing that they have to do the right thing. They don't have to kowtow to anybody because this thing is in court. So they don't have to kowtow to anybody. Whether you come or you say you won't remove me. Simple.
That's it. Dr. Adabona, I appreciate your comprehensive analysis of this matter, as always. Thank you so much.
Thank you, too.
Dr. Adabona is security analyst. Now, doctors at the Konfanochi Teaching Hospital have declared an indefinite strike effective tomorrow, Wednesday, March 13. The decision is to register their displeasure with an imminent eviction they face from their current official residence at Denyame, a suburb of Kumasi. The land has been ceded to Asanteo Tumfosei II on behalf of and in trust for the subject of the Golden Stool. The revested land contains state bungalows to be relocated to the area retained by government. But the doctors were worried about the Ashanti Regional Coordinating Council's handling of the relocation process. They say colleagues occupying the bungalows are not happy with the continuous eviction threats they receive from private developers when they are yet to be relocated. The doctors, after an emergency meeting, unanimously agreed to lay down their tools until an alternative accommodation arrangement is made for them. Dr. Michael Light is chair of the Konfanochi Teaching Hospital Doctors Association.
We were told by management that some doctors in the Nyame residence are supposed to be evicted. This has been ongoing for about a year now. And as an association, we suggested some measures to management, but we see this to be beyond our hospital management, in that they are not the owners of the land per se. So some of our doctors have been given an eviction. They've been given notices to evict their accommodation units within a week. Some have had their water supply cut off. Some have been walled in. So as an association, not all doctors in Confanoche are affected anyway, but we have close to about 20-something doctors plus other staff of the Confanoche and other doctors from other hospitals. So we thought it wise that if you are being evicted, then we meet and decide as a group what is the next step. And what came out, the unanimous decision was to lay down our tools tomorrow by 6 a.m. and then go and look for our accommodation.
However, the Ashanti Regional Minister Simon Osei-Mensah has said new apartments are being built for the affected doctors, adding that they are on an advanced stage of the completion process.
We have to relocate all government workers who are still within that enclave. And even some of those who are still within the enclave of the government. Because some of the structures are sited on maybe an acre plot of land. If we have an acre plot of land, having just a 4-bedroom house, we demolish it and we put maybe 6 or more of such buildings on the same plot to enable us to have enough land space to build the accommodation that we need. Originally, we decided to build 2 and now we reduce it to 180 because we are sure that the 180 will be enough for all these that we are going to relocate. And this location is one site, that is one contractor's site. And here we have more than 30 structures. As you can see, most of them are above 80%. Only few will be around maybe 75. What is left is the fixing of electrical gadgets and acoustics. And after that, they will do the landscaping. And these ones will be. There are various levels of completion. So if I hear somebody saying that we're giving him 1 week to vacate his bundle or something, they should produce the letter so that we know the opt-out value. Whoever wrote that letter. And also we've had agreement with the contractors.
Well, the doctors say they've not been communicated to on any relocation arrangement as has been as stated by the minister, as you just heard earlier. They say that as a result, they are going ahead with their strike beginning tomorrow.
The regional minister on several stations making those claims. Seriously, I don't deal with the regional minister. He can say whatever he wants to say. That is his business. Our business is simple. He claims there are places for. You should show us where those accommodation units are. Is it at Dynamic? Is it at Amudo? I communicate with my CEO. What he does is his business. So I don't have anything to share with regards to the regional minister. I seriously don't want to. Because his statements out there has angered a lot of people. And we don't want to go into that direction.
Well, you heard the head of the Confanoche Teaching Hospital Doctors Association there talking to us. That's Dr. Michael Liati here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. The National Labour Commission has dragged the Ghana Education Service and the Ministry of Education to court over the delay in payment of online allowances to some members of the University Teachers Association of Ghana, UTAG. Earlier this year, aggrieved lecturers of the University of Environment, Science and Sustainable Development withdrew their services and demanded the payment of their online teaching allowances, which had delayed for more than a year. The Labour Commission further directed the GES and the Ministries of Education and Finance to comply with the Commission's 2023 ruling directing the payment to be made. But that order has been defied by the GES and the sector ministry. Ofosu Asamoah is the Executive Secretary of the National Labour Commission. He's been speaking to 3FM.
Earlier on, and the Commission made a directive that their online teaching support allowance be paid to them within a particular period, which there was no compliance. So they threatened strike for the non-payment. The defendant in the case is the respondents, I must say, is the government of Ghana through the Ministry of Education. They were here. And the question was, have you complied with our directive? And the simple answer was no. If no, then you have to, because you're out of time. We have to seek an enforcement from the court against them. It doesn't make any difference. So whether you are government, whether you are private, if we give a directive and it's against you and you don't comply, and you have the opportunity and you still don't do it. The law provides that you go to court to seek enforcement, and that is exactly what the commission is seeking to do. No, there was a threat of strike, but because of the action that the commission directed and is taking, the strike did not come on.
Well, that's the National Labour Commission there. Executive Secretary of Oswa Samoa Solavi on Hot Edition. We'll be back shortly after this quick break with the business news with Michael Obodo. Stay with us.
The 3FM Gobe Festival 2024. Gobe Lovers and Gobe Eaters Association. Time now so. Get ready for the biggest Gobe event in Ghana on Saturday, 16th March at the Accra Mall Interchange Park. From 9 a.m., come experience a food festival interlaced with fun activities and music performances like never before. Be there to savor different flavors and combos of Gobe, like Gobe and rice or Gobe and kinky. Throw some pepper on the side, avocado in the center circle, and eggs on the top corner. Pardon? Last year was terrific. This year will be a showdown. Don't miss out on the gastronomic delights and vibrant atmosphere. Are you a Gobe seller or you know anyone? Call now to register 0532 200 927 or 0531 100 927. Let's link up. The 3FM Gobe Festival 2024. Your Gobe joint the B. Join us on Saturday, 16th March at 9 a.m. and let's transform the Accra Mall Interchange Park into a Gobe lovers paradise. 3FM 92.7, your urban lifestyle radio station.
Sponsored by Glovo App, Bigo Drinks, Inkulenu Foods, Fidelity Bank, Gino Tomato Paste, Dewa Chop Money, Flora Tissues, Sankofa Natural Spices.
I know the show is TV, now you're ready, show come good, I'm a
Hello there, good evening. It's time now for the business segment here on Hot Edition. Coming up, Ghana's economy projected to grow by 3.2% in 2024, higher than IMF forecast of 2.8%. We have the details coming up shortly. I am Michael Obodu. Please stay. Well, let's now bring you our top story. As Standard Chartered Bank is... Stanbic Bank is predicting a stronger growth rate of about 3.2% for Ghana in 2024, higher than that of the International Monetary Fund. The fund had earlier projected a 2.8% rate for the country. The projected gross domestic product GDP growth rate for Ghana in 2024 places it 16th out of 18 countries captured by the Standard Bank. According to the bank, the expansion of the economy this year will be driven by the service sector. However, it says weather conditions, debt burdens, and geopolitics will still pose risk to growth. Historically, Ghana's economy has expanded by 5% year-on-year until COVID-19 emerged in 2019. Away from that, telecommunications firm Telecel has ruled out any plans of job cuts following its latest Vodafone ownership buyout. In February 2023, the firm completed the acquisition of 70% shares of Ghana Telecommunications Company Limited, GTCL, to become its majority shareholder. Speaking to 3 Business at a Platinum Night event to welcome the telecommunications service provider, Chief Executive Officer of Telecel Ghana, Patricia Ubunai, stated that the new management will protect existing jobs in the company.
It's been very clear that they are here to drive disruption. So they're bringing a lot of innovative solutions. In the end, it's about the network and giving customers a great experience on the network. So they are committed to investing in that network. And I think the second thing is about how we deliver customer experience. It's one thing that everybody complains about. And they've been very clear on how they believe will make a difference in Ghana, especially to our fixed broadband customers. You know how it feels like. And I think the third is in financial inclusion, but doing it digitally. So you will see a lot of changes in the way we deliver solutions when it comes to financial inclusion. Even before the promise of the network expansion, the first commitment Telecel made was not to lay anybody off. And so far, they have kept the promise. We have not laid off any employee. There's been zero redundancy. If anything at all, they are going through major acquisitions in other countries, and they are looking for talent to help grow those markets as well.
So that was the Chief Executive Officer of Telecel Ghana, Patricia Obonai speaking there. Let's now turn our attention to more stories as the CEO of the Ghana Commodities Exchange Company, Tusi Ivowi, has underscored the importance of private sector in the agricultural value chain to empower farmers. According to her, areas such as logistics entail a lot, hence no one entity will be able to provide all that without support. She spoke to 3 Business when the Commodities Exchange signed an MOU with the Association of Ghana Industries, AGI, to facilitate agricultural trading.
The Ghana Commodity Exchange is a market that brings buyers and sellers together to trade under rules, and we've started with the trading of agricultural commodities. It is a very strong system, a very strong foundation that has been built, but it cannot thrive without the support of the private sector. There are so many areas with which we lean on private sector to support and to work with us to grow this industry. We're talking about areas like infrastructure, warehousing, logistics. The Ghana Commodity Exchange, logistics is not our core business, but imagine you need to move commodities from farm gate to warehouse, from warehouse to producer's location. So there are so many areas that private sector play a key role. Again, strengthening that through things like logistics and so on, which is where private sector comes in, will only improve the situation further and really accelerate the efforts that we're already trying to make.
So that was the voice of Tusi Ivowi, who is the Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Commodities Exchange, bringing an end to the business news here on Hot Edition. For more business stories, please check out our website. It's 3news.com/business. I am Michael Obudu. Thank you for listening. As always, please stay safe. Up next is sports, and Danny is on standby to bring you the latest. Please stay.
The 3FM Gobe Festival 2024. Gobe Lovers and Gobe Eaters Association. Time now so. Get ready for the biggest Gobe event in Ghana. On Saturday, 16th March at the Accra Mall Interchange Park. From 9 a.m., come experience a food festival interlaced with fun activities and music performances like never before. Be there to savor different flavors and combos of Gobe, like Gobe and rice, or Gobe and kenke. Throw some pepper on the side, avocado in the center circle, and eggs on the top corner. Pardon? Last year was terrific. This year will be a showdown. Don't miss out on the gastronomic delights and vibrant atmosphere. Are you a Gobe seller or you know anyone? Call now to register 0532-200-927 or 0531-100-927. Let's link up. The 3FM Gobe Festival 2024. Your Gobe joint the B. Join us on Saturday, 16th March at 9 a.m. and let's transform the Accra Mall Interchange Park into a Gobe lovers paradise. 3FM 92.7, your urban lifestyle radio station.
Sponsored by Glovo App, Bigo Drinks, Inkulenu Foods, Fidelity Bank, Gino Tomato Paste, Dewa Chop Money, Flora Tissues, Sankofa Natural Spices.
I know the show is TV, now you're ready to show a kambu, damn it, and a
It's Ghana Month, and it's also Women's Month on 3FM 92.7. This year, we're celebrating remarkable women in agriculture. Have you encountered a woman making waves in the agri-tech or innovating within the agro-value chain? Does she demonstrate measurable impact in the agricultural sector and possess the ability to inspire others? Nominate this outstanding womanpreneur in the field of agriculture by tagging her on our social media handles at 3FM 92.7 on Facebook, Instagram, and on X with a hashtag WMON3FM927. You can also send her name, inspiring story, and achievements to our WhatsApp number 0207 733 131. Deadline for submission is March 19th, 2024. Don't miss this opportunity to recognize industrious women shaping the future. Let's invest. 733 131.
Good evening. It's time to bring you the latest in the world of sports. My name is Emmanuel, and we start from the ongoing African Games where Ghana's Abeku Jackson won his 100-meter men's butterfly final earlier today, but he finished with a bronze medal. 3 Sports Yao Fosulabi explains why the Ghanaian swimmer had to settle for bronze despite winning the race.
Ghana's Abeku Jackson won his 100-meter men's butterfly final earlier today, but he finished with a bronze medal in the end. Now, this happened because there was a little setback with the race on Monday in the final. 2 swimmers did not hear the starting bell, and so they missed out on an opportunity to get into the water on time. Now, in swimming, when this happens, there are 2 options. One is for the swimmers to keep their times or partake in a reswim on a later date. Egypt's Nasser Abdullah and Jardine Eaton from South Africa took the first 2 places in the race and opted to keep their times. But Ghana's Abeku Jackson felt it was another opportunity to better his time and possibly break into the top 2. But that couldn't happen because the time he swam today could not better what the top 2 had swum yesterday. That's on Monday, and so he will have to settle for a bronze medal in the end.
So that was the voice of Yao Ofosulabi explaining why Abeku Jackson secured the bronze medal despite winning his race. Still in the African Games, last weekend, badminton player Leslie Addo revealed how bad the mode of transportation was for him and his teammates. But the president of the Ghana Badminton Federation, Ocansey, says it was the coach's decision for the team to travel the way they did.
The equipment is double. I'm using that. And no any racket. Shoes for me, 37, 47. It's not fair to us. Yeah, coaching and you the was say, and yeah, president over in Canada. You don't see anything. Your body cry, and every board match, it's pick up. Your coach pick up, it's back at risky. It's very risky. That's what I'm finding. It's just not fair to us. Badminton.
Early morning, the athletes in question had a match for 8 years. As per rules and per usual protocol, they are always assisted with the bus and with the motorcade. As you know, badminton is staying out of the village because our practice court is closer, it's at Terminus. So on that morning of that day, because of time constraint, the bus that they were using actually had broken down on the expressway. So what happened was the coach, in his own wisdom, decided to get to the hall quite early at 8 a.m. So it was basically the coach's decision to be able to bus them as an interim measure to the hall that early morning of 8 a.m. At the end of the day, the regular bus schedule continued to take care of them, as it has been doing from the 3rd of March, and that there was no problem.
So that was the voice of Leslie Addo and the president of the Badminton Federation, Ocansey. Let's move away from the African Games to the UEFA Champions League, which returns to your screens with the round of 16, which will see Arsenal take on Porto and Napoli play host to Barcelona. Ahead of Arsenal's game, Mikel Arteta believes his team needs to do much more when his side take on Porto later tonight.
A few things to generate much more than what we did against them, but it's the level of the Champions League. You're facing top teams. The fact that there are 2 games as well plays a little bit in your mind, and we're going to have to be better tomorrow.
So that was Mikel Arteta. Now, still in the Champions League, Barcelona head coach Xavi Hernandez believes his team needs to show their identity and personality if they want to overcome the hurdle they face in Napoli.
Well, I cannot say anything. But no, it's not the idea to change the system, or especially to change the philosophy of that we already training. So, no, tomorrow, I think, especially tomorrow in Champions League, we need to show our identity, our personality. So, I think tomorrow will not change too much that we show until now.
So that was the voice of Barcelona head coach Xavi Hernandez, and that brings an end to the sports segment with me, Manu Andam.
Thank you, Emmanuel. And while we go, the small news on 3news.com. Make some time and visit 3news.com. Executive Chair of the Magdan Group of Companies, Dr. Daniel Macaulay, has emphasized the importance of tapping into key natural resources to propel industrialization among key African economies. Addressing a gathering as the special guest of honor at the world's biggest salt conference currently taking place in India, he made the point that there are some developments in the salt mining industry in Ghana, which Electrochem, located in Ada Songo, is leading. You can find more of that as well on 3news.com. On behalf of the rest of the team, I want to say thank you very much for staying with us here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. And join me at 10 p.m. for Ghana Tonight. I am Alfred Ocansey. Have a great evening.